I need to set the record straight. I'm not a Nintendo YouTuber. I've just played the Nintendo Switch 2 at the event Nintendo held in London on the weekend just gone. And what I want to do now is just share some of my thoughts and feelings on the console after getting some proper hands-on time with it. So after the first teaser that Nintendo did for the Switch 2 at the start of the year, they opened a raffle up, and if you were lucky enough, you could go and get hands-on with the Switch 2 early. And I was one of those lucky people. So I headed down to London to the Excel Arena to check out this event and just see what was going on. When I got there, I was a little bit nervous because I hadn't been to an event like this for a very long period of time, especially one on my own. My nerves were instantly calm with just how helpful and friendly everyone working at that event actually was. Now, I want to preface this video by stating that although I have filmed some stuff there, I wasn't 100% on what the filming policies were, and the person that I did ask at the gate did mention that they don't really want you to film any of the gameplay that's happening. I know some people have had their friends film them playing, which is one thing, but I was going on my own, and I figured that I don't really want to rock the boat here and cause any issues, and ultimately I want to enjoy myself as well. And I can safely say that I really did enjoy myself. So what you're going to see is some of the footage that I filmed, but I've also spliced in some bits from the Nintendo Treehouses when talking about certain games, okay? So once you checked in and you were put into a queue, you just waited there until they were ready to let us in. In the background, you had a huge screen with the Switch 2 Direct played in its full, in Japanese with subtitles though, so it wasn't too hard to follow along with what was actually happening. And then we were let in, and once the gates opened, the amount of people that were in the room that were working just the very first part was incredible, and just how welcoming and friendly they all were. Me being on my own, a little bit nervous because I didn't know anyone who I was going to be playing with or anything like that. But when I walked up to the stand where we were playing Mario Kart World, I was playing with a person who was behind me in the queue who was also on their own. Didn't catch their name. All I know is that they beat me at Mario Kart and now they're my mortal enemy. I will find you. So we played a little bit on the big screen using the Joy-Cons on the charge grip, and then we also played a lot of it handheld. And when I say it's gorgeous, that game is beautiful. Now, I did later find out that all these TVs are the perfect spec for the Switch 2, which is obvious because you're going to want to show off that console to the best of your ability. But playing in handheld, I was really surprised at how responsive that screen was and how vivid and bright the colors were, and how if you told me it was OLED, I'd believe you. Played a little bit of Grand Prix, couple of races on the screen, a lot of it on the handheld. The person who I was with, who was working the event, was actually really friendly. I was wearing my Attack on Titan key necklace, so we had a lot of conversation about that. It really did ease my nerves when going into the actual big hall that was next. We got to spend about 20 minutes with Mario Kart before we were ushered into the next area. It really did set us up for the day. I was really excited from then on because just seeing how that game felt and played on the Switch compared to how Mario Kart plays on the Switch 1, I knew this was going to be a good day. And then you get into the main hall. Every game has its own little section. It was really nice to see how organized it all was, how calm it all felt, even though it was busy, if you know what I mean. It never felt overwhelmed. And I think that was due to the staggered entry times that the organizers had done for it, because it really made it feel as though at no point was it too busy in that room. So the very first thing I did when I got in there was played more Mario Kart. So I entered the knockout tournament that was going on, where it was you versus 23 other racers to see who would win. I didn't win.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I came 5th, which I'm quite happy with. I haven't played much Mario Kart for a very long time. So after I picked my character in kart, I went for Luigi. He's always been my go-to. You were then able to free roam around the world until the actual race started. And whilst roaming around the city, I was amazed at how much freedom you actually have. I found myself sticking to the roads, and then all of a sudden something triggered in my head and I went, oh no, I don't have to do this. And I went anywhere. And then I went into the water and I thought, oh no, I'm going to be picked up and put back on the track. No, you just turn into a jet ski and away you go. And I completely blanked that part out from the trailer in my mind. And when I was playing it, it just felt fun. And I know I said that a lot in the first video in describing the game, but it is a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun. The race starts and it's the usual Mario Kart chaos. It's 24 people racing. What amazed me the most about that was how responsive it all felt. Even though there was 24 racers and they were all on different switches and it was all over a local area network, but it's still the fact that it's all these different switches together, it might as well have all been on one with how responsive it felt. At no point did I notice any sort of lag or slowdown. In terms of graphical fidelity, nothing seemed to drop. Everything was as smooth as it could be. The entire event team was going crazy with everyone really supportive, and it was a really good time. And yeah, it was a great start. It really was. And now I'm even more excited So then I went over to a little hardware stand that they had, and we get to see some of the accessories and some of the actual Switch units themselves behind glass cabinets. But then you actually get to hold a dummy unit in your hands. The person who was from the event team there was telling me about, you know, how the magnets work and how all that comes together. And I was amazed at how robust they feel. There's a little release button on the back that you push in all the way to then release the magnet. And it's not something that you can press by accident, because it does require you to push it all the way in for it to work. And even then, you've still got to yank on that controller to get it out. And it all feels really robust. You might think that, yeah, it's a more powerful unit, it's going to weigh a lot more. It doesn't feel hefty in your hands. The Joy-Cons still feel light, but the buttons feel a lot better on them. And I know Nintendo mentioned that on the Joy-Cons, they've increased the size of the L and R buttons. You really do notice it. They actually do feel like buttons you can press now. And the person at the event and myself did joke that we can no longer blame those buttons for us losing races in Mario Kart. To the left of that section was the 18+ area, where you could try Yakuza 0 or Cyberpunk. Now, I've got no affinity to either one of those games. I've never played the Yakuza games, and I played about 90 minutes of Cyberpunk. So I wanted to see what Cyberpunk was like, and I was kind of impressed. Now, yes, it's running on the Switch 2. It's incredible that they've managed to get a game as intense as Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. However, what I will say is the experience that I had with it, where I was playing it in handheld mode, it did lag quite a bit at the start. Graphically, it did feel as though there was a lot going on, and the system wasn't doing the best of jobs with it. Now, it is an early build, so I don't want to judge it 100% off that. However, I did change from quality to performance mode. Notice a bit of an increase in performance as well, because obviously the frames do go up. I think it's 40 frames a second in the performance mode. It still looks like it's going to be a good game. However, I just don't think Cyberpunk is it for me. And then I got to play Tears of the Kingdom, and I played it in handheld mode. I could not believe that I was playing the same game that I played a year or so ago when it first came out. Boy, have I forgotten what to do in that game. I got about 25 hours into the original version of the game, and then I stopped because I'm not a huge fan of the building mechanics. I don't want to play Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. So for me, it's not my favorite Zelda game by far. However, I'm not here to talk about the game itself. I'm here to talk about how it played on the Switch 2, and I was blown away. When you look up in the sky, you can see so much. The sky islands are so vivid, so easy to see that they're not blurred. It really does feel like if I can see it, I can go there, and I can actually see where I want to go now. It's a gorgeous game. It ran so smooth. There was no slowdown whatsoever. I did notice some popping with some of the things like grass and all that. Aside from that, it was an amazing experience, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to playing. And hopefully now that the game is going to be running in this high resolution, HDR, smooth frames, it's going to be one that I'm going to enjoy a lot more. I didn't get to check out the depths, didn't go down there. I did go up to Death Mountain. I did forget to build a cart, so I did just run around everywhere, and I did forget the controls. But I had fun, and that's the main thing. After that, I went over, I thought, well, I've got to check out Breath of the Wild now. And it was the same exact feeling for that. And you started off in Hyrule Field and just got to explore around there and get to see how the world reacts to Link walking through it and riding through it on Epona, cutting down grass, fighting enemies. All of it felt super smooth. Then when that demo ended for me, the person at the stand said, hang on, let me show you one more thing. And it took me to Korok Forest. I talked about this in the first video, but if you played the original version of Breath of the Wild, you know that Korok Forest slowed that game down so much. I'm not lying when I say nothing happened negatively. I was going through the Lost Woods, I was following the flames, I was walking through where all the Koroks were. Everything felt smooth. Everything felt how it should. One of the other team members who was also there was playing the Ganon fight in the castle, and we were having a lot of back and forth, and it was really good fun. But both of us agreed that seeing this game now is how it felt in my mind when I first played it, but it's actually like this now. So it's a game that, although I have completed Breath of the Wild, I probably won't play it again. However, I never did the DLC properly for it, so I might go back and do that. Those of you that will experience it for the first time, you are in for a treat, and I'm kind of jealous of you. I know previously I said that I prefer to play fighting games with an arcade stick, and obviously there were none there, but we did get to try with the Pro Controller. I played as Bison versus the CPU, got a perfect in my first round, so yeah, everything was going good for me. It was a lot of fun to play. Graphically, the game feels really smooth. I didn't notice any slowdown whatsoever, and those of you that do play fighting games as a bit more of a serious thing as opposed to just more of a casual thing, you do understand that frames per second really does matter, because it does mean that if you drop frames, you might be able to drop a combo. No one wants that to happen, so can't see it being an issue. Everything felt really good. I don't really have much to say aside from the fact that, yeah, it played really smooth. looked really good, and it is a good version of Street Fighter 6. So if you haven't got another console, you're not going to be missing out here. It's a really good version for it. I am interested to see if they do bring out any arcade sticks for it. I'm sure third parties are working on it. Next up, I got to try some of the GameCube classics. Now, they did have one game there which isn't out just yet, and they did have Super Mario Strikers out. I'm not a big football fan, wasn't going to play that, didn't have any nostalgia for that game. First thing I started off by playing was F-Zero GX, and all it did was make me really want F-Zero to have a full new game. And even the attendee who was with me agreed. The graphics have been upscaled a little bit, they're a bit smoother, but it's not a HD remaster in any means. But I played a bit of F-Zero, played a bit of Wind Waker, and I played some Soul Calibur as well, all of which felt super smooth, super consistent. One thing I did notice was Wind Waker did have a little bit of some slowdown. I don't know if that is the game file itself or if it's the way that it is being played on the Switch 2. Either way, it was still a really good experience, and I don't think anyone who is paying for Nintendo Switch Online plus the expansion pack and then is getting these games is going to be disappointed with what they get. The controllers we used were also the GameCube controllers, which Nintendo have brought back out. They're wireless, they're super comfortable, they feel just like the original. I was really impressed, and I've got one on pre-order and I can't wait to get it. There's a little bit of back and forth happening at the moment with will it be compatible with everything, because it only states it's compatible with GameCube games. Apparently with every controller that has been made for the Nintendo Switch Online experience, it only says it's compatible with the games of that system, but it still works with other ones. I guess it's due to button mappings and things like that. After that, I got to play on Donkey Kong Bonanza, probably the game that I was most excited to try out, and one I kind of regretted not getting to earlier, only because I was super pumped for it. This game blew me away. I was advised to sit a little bit further back from the TV, only because of how bright the actual game is. I'm glad I did. I could feel my eyes burning with how much graphical fidelity was coming out of that screen. The game itself is absolutely gorgeous. The gameplay itself is incredibly fun. I skipped all cutscenes because I didn't want the story spoiled for me. Not that I think it's going to be some Shakespearean epic, but at the same time, I don't want to waste my time in this demo by doing that. The world itself that you're in, you can literally destroy everything, and it's great, and it feels really fun to do so, and there's so many ways to do it. The boss fights and enemies are really fun as well. The actual verticality to the map was insane. If you could see it, you could smash it. It was incredible. The characters are animated and really fun. It's just a gorgeous game. The only downside I noticed was when you went out to the map where you could see everything, you did notice a little bit of slowdown. That said, it still felt amazing to play. Everything was vivid, everything was bright, the colors were incredible, the water physics, everything was just great fun, and it is something that I'm really glad I've pre-ordered, and when it comes out I can't wait to share my thoughts on it with you. And then I got to try my final game of the day, which was Metroid Prime 4. Now, I played that with mouse controls. What I can say is I'm probably not going to use mouse controls just because it feels so awkward in your hand, because it's not a mouse. It's not like you're holding an actual computer mouse. The Joy-Con is so thin, and the buttons that you have to press are in such a weird place that if you've got bigger hands, you can't really get in position for it. It was still fun. The game is incredibly smooth. The graphics were insane. The gameplay was really tight. It was really fun. The boss fight that you have was such a good thing to show off as a demo for this game. The person who was with me from the event as well was super enthusiastic, giving me hints, giving me tips, sharing their thoughts on it as well. And yeah, it was really, really good to try. I just don't think that mouse controls are it for me. Maybe when a third party brings out a bigger mouse for it, I'll be all for it, but having to press some of the face buttons as well as the triggers whilst your hands on kind of a crook with my hands being my size, it didn't work for me. So on the way out from the event, they were giving out these Nintendo Switch 2 goodie bags. So let's have a look and see what they got. So first up, sweet little pen. We got post-it notes to use with the pen. And then there's this. It's a neat little Nintendo Switch 2 water bottle. And finally, it's a nice little memorabilia for the day. Quite a cute little bag as well. And that was the Switch 2 event. Overall, that event was organized so well. It was really good to see how excited and enthusiastic everyone who was working there was. It was really fun to see all the people who were actually trying out the Switch smiling and having a great time, and it's made me more excited than ever for the Switch 2. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for the Switch 2, especially given the fact that more third-party companies are coming on board now and actually supporting it. It's going to be a really fun time, and I'm really, really looking forward to getting my hands on one in June, sharing my thoughts with you, and finally going online with Mario Kart and trash talking children online like I'm in a COD lobby.